Okay, lastly, let's go ahead and go over your lab for this weekend. Let's get started. This lab is going to be a little more intensive than your previous two, so please get started as soon as possible. The main thing is the first two parts are basically straightforward. They're maybe two loops or a loop using an array and then return the result. The third one, we're actually going to start doing a little OOP with arrays or array lists. So do get started early. I've had people have trouble with part 3 just because they're having a hard time understanding what's going on. So let me go ahead and get started with part 1. Design and implement a class array post that contains a function post10 that is sent an array list of integers. Your job is to return another array list that contains all the elements from the original array list that come after the last 10 in the original array. In other words, if I sent you 2, 10, 1, 2, you're going to return 1, 2, aka 1 and 2 are what comes after the 10. If I go 10, 1, 10, 2, you just return 2 because all I want is after the last 10. Okay? Not the first one, but the very last one. So find the last one, everything after that. And then, of course, here's another example. I want the 1, 2, 3. Any questions on what this does? All right. Another jump that some people have had is the first lab where it's one PDF that describes all the classes. Okay? So it's just API, .pdf. Let me spell events correctly. And here's where you can click on the different classes. So your classes should show up over here, or they're going to be all along down the line at some page. So this is 8 pages long. Array post. Here's your method heading. I highly recommend you copy and paste it. Ooh, excuse me, copy and paste it. But there's array post. Any questions on part 1? None yet? None yet. Part 2, design and implement a class array util that contains a function remove that is sent an array list in a position P. Your job is to return an array list now with all the elements of the original list in order except that every nth or every pth, this should be an n, has been removed. For example, the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 and n is 4. The function should return 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10. Notice the first element was not removed. So notice they remove every 4th element, so remove the 4, the 8. If it had more elements, it would remove the 12th, the 14th, the 12th, the 16th, the 20th, the 24th, the 28th, etc., etc. Y'all see what I'm asking y'all to do? All right. Let me show you the API real quick for util. Whoops. Util. Let's go down. Returns an array list, and I give you an array list. Actually, it should be array list sub-integer, so there should have been some brackets right there, or less than greater than. Okay. Whoa. There it is. All right. Part 3. So here we're going to actually design a system where we have a quiz system managing 25 questions, or 25 questions, okay? So we're going to have a system. It's going to have up to 25 questions. The point of this is that I want you all to come up with a basic system representing a quiz to where you can ask the user a question. I could use it to ask the user a question. I could use it to and find out how many answers they got correctly. I don't need a main. I just need the system, the objects, okay? All right, so first off, define a class questions whose constructors takes a question and answer. Additionally, the question class shall have a getQuestion function to return the question and an isCorrect function that tests for the correctness of an answer. All right, let's go over to question real quick. Question, you're passed the question, a string representing a question, a string representing the answer. GetQuestion would return that question that's passed up here. And isCorrect is being passed a student answer. Returns if the answer is correct or not. Notice that when I call getAnswer, I want you to ignore the case. String utilities has a .equals ignore case function. Make sure you use that instead of regular equals. You understand what the quiz object I want it to be?
Not really.
I'm not quiz. I'm sorry. Question object.
So we need to program 25 questions and answers.
We're going to. I haven't finished part 3, the explanation. I just explained the question object. We're still going to talk about the quiz object next, but any questions on the question object? All right, so that's the question object. Now create a quiz object that contains up to 25 questions. So the quiz class shall have functions that can set a question, get a question, and grade a set of answers from the student. So over in your quiz, you initialize the quiz to store up to 25 questions. It's an empty constructor. Do whatever you need to do to have 25 questions inside of your quiz. Probably want to use an array list. Just throwing that out there. Make sure if you do use an array list that you actually add 25 nulls, so basically signify 25 empty questions. So you can get the questions. It's going to return an array list of all the questions. That's great. Grade answers, which report the number of questions a student got correct. So I'm going to provide you the answers from the student as a string array, and you're going to grade how many they got correct. And set question, which given an index and a question will set the index or store the question in a certain position. So get questions should be fairly straightforward. I'm going to skip grade answers, go to get set question. So that's store the position. You return true if the index was 0 to 24 inclusively. If it's outside of that, return false and don't do anything. But if it's inside that, you actually set the question correctly. What answers does is report the number of questions a student got correct, or get correct. I'm giving you the array, and then you return the number that were actually correct. Any questions yet? I'm going to go into some examples and little details about grade answers in a moment. No? Okay. All right, guys. So what do we got? Let's see. Returns an array. So, for example, you could do the question, who shot first? Who did shoot first?
Han.
You think it was Han? Anyone want to disagree with that? No one? I had one guy who was all about they shot at the same time. He was very adamant about that.
They may have. I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I never watched the scenes.
I mean, it makes sense that Han shot first, right?
Well, if you
Greedo missed.
Yeah, I was thought that Greedo just missed.
Yeah.
it depends. In the original one, Han shot first, the 77 version. And was it 97?
Yeah,
The one, the remake, he added to where Greedo shot first and then Han responded.
The best part was still when the stormtrooper bumped his head on the door, and they added a bonk sound effect. It was great. The new one, they were just like, oh yeah, that was funny. And a bonk.
Is that a punk?
Yeah, it just hits his head on the door.
I missed that one.
That's great. That's good.
You're right, exactly right. I mean, they're sitting at the table right next to each other. Come on, guys. But so in the remake, Greedo shot first because he wanted to make Han look like a pure hero and not an anti-hero or someone that goes from a rogue to hero-dumb or something like that. Whatever. Han shot first.
But he's a smuggler. He's not.
Right. It's not like he's a good guy right now. He becomes a good guy. That's part of the story, right? Character development. All right. What was the next one? So what's the first book of the Bible? Hopefully we all know that. Who led the Israelites out of Egypt? And then who's the best Star Trek captain? I decided to add that. You want to disagree with me on this one, by the way?
Wait, who did you say?
Kirk.
It just doesn't have the poison card though.
Now, this is where I need to make sure we're clear. I'm talking about the character, not the actor. Because if we were to do an actor, there's no competition. It's not even fair, right?
Yeah.
Right. I haven't had anyone say Janeway or what was the one from Deep Space Nine?
Nobody knows. That's why nobody said.
Well, I actually like that one, but I keep forgetting his name. Oh. So those are the 4 questions. Get questions should return an array where it says who shot first, what's the first book of the Bible, who led the Israelites out of Egypt, and who's the best Star Trek captain, aka those 4 things right up there. Also, here's the trick. If I notice up here I set 0, 1, 2, 3. Down here I go 0, 5, 7, 9. If I do it that way, get questions should still return the same thing in the same order. Okay? So don't add filler spaces or nulls or anything. If there's no question there, there's no line on the end. So since there are only 4 question objects inside the quiz, it would only return 4 questions, even despite what slots I put them in. All right? Okay. Similarly, grade answers will check only the non-null questions in order. For example, if we put in Greedo, Genesis, Moses, Kirk, the answer should be 3, obviously 0, 1, 2, 3. But if it was set 0, 8, 9, 11, it would still give us back 3 as well. Do you see why that might be a little tricky? I'm not filling up the quiz in a specific order. I may put them in any place I want, and then I ask for the grades in the order that they exist, ignoring or skipping the nulls, so to speak.
So, but no matter what position, they have to be in that order.
They have to be in that order. The order is enforced, but the positions may be different.
All right.
Okay, any questions on part 3? I get a lot of questions on part 3 when I assign this one. This one's very good. It helps you learn about arrays, array lists, and it really starts gelling together how to use 2 different objects.
So we're going to have an array list with 25 things in it.
Mm-hmm. Or an array. You can do it either way.
And it's only going to have 4 things in it.
In this example, it does. Maybe I'll fill it up with 25 questions. Maybe I'll only give you 1 question. But it should be able to store up to 25 questions.
Okay. Well, what are you doing with questions?
So we have a question object that stores the question and answer. Question class stores question and answer, has these 2 things. When I go down to quiz, notice, oh man, wow. One day that'll go away. Notice inside the quiz I can do set question, passing in an index and a question object, so it stores the question at that position. But since I can store up to 25, this index can go from 0 to 24. So I can store up to 25. These examples I only stored 4. I may store 1, I may store 20, I may store 2. But anything in that range is legitimate for this lab. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes? Hopefully?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, a little dark from back here. I couldn't see your face. So I was like, okay. Any other questions on part 3? All right. Extra credit. Again, you don't have to do this to get 100, but I like to give at least some good problems. Get y'all start thinking about solving fun I find fun programming problems. So you don't need to complete this for 100. I took this from HackerRank. I think it's a good. I think it's a good problem to get you even more adjusted to arrays. So, you're given a 2D array with dimensions n times n. So n and m are both greater than 0. An hourglass is an array defined in the positions shaped like this: A, B, C, D in the middle, E, F, G. So it has to have 3 rows, 3 columns, and we're ignoring the position there and there. So if we created an hourglass using the number 1 within a 7 by 7 array full of zeros, it may look like this. So notice it's 7 by 7, and I put an hourglass of just 1s right up here. Okay? Now there's actually many hourglasses to the array above. The 3 topmost ones are actually these 3 hourglasses right here. But you could also do from here over here down right there. A third one is still from here over and around like that. And I listed the 3 right here just for clarity. The sum of an hourglass is the sum of all the numbers within it. So the sum of the hourglass above is 7, 4, and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just 1 and 2. For the
Wouldn't the second one be 5?
no, because remember it goes A, B, C, D in the middle, E, F, G. We ignore here and we ignore over here. So we ignore this 1 altogether. It's just 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 1 plus 1 plus 0. Good question. So your problem is to return the largest sum amongst all the hourglasses in a given array. Oh, I love that sound. Who made that sound? Maybe that was in my head, sorry. Create a largest hourglass that contains the function max hourglass that takes a two-dimensional integer array and returns the sum of the largest hourglass. We'll look at the API real quick. Let's see, hourglass. Two-dimensional array, returns the largest sum of any hourglass in the array. That's all it does. Any questions? The autograder is set up. I made sure of it this morning. So if there's no other questions, you have the rest of it for lab time, and make sure you are making some progress on your project. I've seen some headway, but make sure you stay on top of it.